All right, guys, welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And yes, your boy is back. I'm feeling much better, and I just couldn't stay away from you guys. But before we get started, hey guys, I just want to remind you, like, subscribe to this video. But I'm so glad to be back. And again, before we get started, Victor, how you doing?
Doing great. Baseball is back. Let's talk. We can actually talk about some games today, some things going on in baseball. I'm so jealous of everyone down there in Point St. Lucie right now, just living their dream, watching those games, seeing those fans out there in the shorts and the t-shirt. Oh man, I wish I was down there, but hey, it's good that we can at least watch them. And so I can't complain about at least being able to watch some baseball.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. If I could, I'd be in Florida right now. But yeah, I'm excited to see some baseball. But before we get to the games, we haven't been on since the Senga news, and so we wanted to touch on it a little bit. We just heard today a little update. Obviously, a few days ago, Senga was shut down with some shoulder stuff, and today he got a PRP treatment. So he's going to be shut down for about 3 weeks before he can start throwing again. And hopefully that's it. Hopefully that's all it is. And it's just 3 weeks setback. And he's ready to go in May. And we only lose him for just April. And so that is the best case scenario. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna flip out or go nuts about it, because you know this if we're going to succeed this season, yes, Senga's a big part of it. But I would say personally, the young bats are really going to tell if we succeed this year or not. So I don't know about you, man, but I'm okay with the news in the sense that in 3 weeks we'll see what happens. But what do you think?
Listen, it stinks because we're losing our ace. This is the third year in a row that we're gonna have to go without our ace on opening day, and it is what it is. You know, uh, but I like to think of it as this is one player that plays once every 5 or 6 days, or probably 6 days, because I think David Stearns talked about going to a six-man rotation this year, and Carlos Mendoza also talked about how this doesn't really affect anything in terms of how they put guys out there. He said that it might change the way that they schedule guys in terms of like they might just have a swing man on instead of just like a 6 day starter, but it really doesn't change anything for the Mets this year. We might have gotten 20 wins out of him out of 162, and that's really all it means for this regular season. And it stinks because we're not going to, as Mets fans, we like to see pitching. We like to see good pitching, and we're not going to be able to see as much of that this year. But like you said, we do have something to look forward to this year, and that's the bats, the young guys coming up, the young talent, restructuring this team to a point where we can actually contend and look like we're playoff ready, and not feel like we're just playoff hopeful. And this is a better year for it to have happened than any other year because, like I said, we're not looking. Like we're going to win the World Series. We're not hopeful to win the Series this year in anyone's eyes, except Mets fans, because we're always going to be hopeful. But we still have a season to watch. We still have baseball to play and things to look forward to other than the Kodai Senga. So I agree with you. It's not the end of the world. And I just hope that we'll actually be able to see him this year. I know there's a lot of pessimistic Mets fans out there that are saying that he's not even going to be on the mound this year. And that's, I think, crazy. I hope that that's not the case, but you never know with these kind of injuries because it all depends on his comfort level, how he feels, and the rehab that he's able to do leading up to when he gets back on the mound.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, it's gonna suck, right? Senga. It's an honor, right, as a Japanese player to pitch opening day, and he's not gonna get that chance, and that stinks. but like you said, I hope we get to see him later on in the year. Like I said, hopefully it's just a 3 week setback or a month setback. We see him in May, and we get him for the rest of the year after that. And because hey, we love seeing him pitch. He was top Cy Young vote getter last year, and so we were expecting more of the same this year. But at the end of the day, this is what happens. This is why Stearns got so much depth in the offseason, right? It's because it's not just Senga. If Senga's contract, his contract was set up for this scenario. You know what I mean? So so I'm not too worried about it. We got some depth. It's not the depth that we want, but that's where we are right now. You know what I mean? you know, um,
And you put it perfectly, though. David Stearns has set us up this year for us to be able to be in this type of situation. He didn't just go and like in a couple of years past, go and pick up our straight five starters to to start the season, and then maybe we'll have some guys come up. We have guys that are competing, and we've seen that in spring training that they're competing to get this starting job this year with three guys that have already had major league experience and two guys that are hoping to get up there this year and very much can. It just all it does is it opens up another slot. Where there was just one slot before, now there's two, and so more guys are going to have the opportunity to pitch at the major league level.
Yeah, and we got guys that know what's gonna happen, right? We got Sevy. If he can stay healthy and not tip pitches, he's a top pitcher, right? Manaya, if he can get straight, he's a middle of the rotation pitcher. So, and Quintana is a middle of rotation pitcher. Those guys, can get us to the playoffs, right? Those guys can get us to the playoffs. And if we just miss a month of Senga, so be it. So what? But if and this is we're going to transition now because this is what Met fans need to understand. Those guys can get us to the playoffs, right? We saw it. We see it all the time, right? Teams make it to the playoffs, and who knows what happens there. But I'm not saying that we're a World Series team, so that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we can compete for the time being without Senga because Quintana eats up innings. Yeah, he was hurt last year or he was on the IL, but on something that you can't even predict, right? He had cancer, right? So, or something in his chest. So you can't predict that kind of stuff. But when he came back, he looked good, right? Sevy, if he stays healthy and doesn't tip pitches, he's a top of the rotation pitcher. All right. I'm not going to repeat myself because, I already said it. But let's go on to the games because we got to see two games this weekend. And, the first one kind of started a little rocky. The sky was falling, the season was over. And guess what we saw today? We saw Alvarez give us a little bit of hope.
I
But
mean, I mean, listen. When you see all these other teams getting off the hot starts, when you see Michael Harris hit a leadoff homer to start the game, and then you see Freddie Freeman do the same thing. You see all these teams getting off the hot starts, like the Yankees blowing out their team. You get kind of not jealous, but you just are like, man, like why? It's like a picture into our season. Those thoughts start to run through your head. But I'm not going to be one of those fans and say that spring training dictates how we look in the regular season, because at the end of the day, guys are just having fun out there. Yes, they're playing serious and more serious now on the Mets that they're trying to fight for spots. But it does worry me some to the mechanics that
there
we
it is.
see.
There it is.
Not even like to the extent of like, oh, I'm mad that we lost. It's just like you see some of these guys and their swing and the way that they're playing out there. Like today, you saw Mark Vientos, and although he's not going to be a third baseman, he didn't look like he was comfortable out there at third base. And yes, he has that bat, so I'm really hoping because he got a couple of hits so far this year, and last year he had what 15 hits I think they said on the broadcast in spring training. So he tends to do well in spring training, and he can show off his bat there. But the glove isn't there at third base. And so I'm hoping that Brett Beatty can step it up and just kind of work back on his stuff, or let Vientos take a step back so that he can focus on his bat and not get in his head about the glove, because we know how crucial that can be to players and their development and how that can get in their heads. But even Brett Beatty, you know, he's only had a couple at bats, but he kind of looked like the same Brett that we did last year, and I was hoping, I was just hoping that he would get to a hot start. And I'm not saying that he's not going to do well the rest of his spring training, and I hope for sure that he does well during the season. But you see guys like that, and then you get a little like concerned ish, but at the end of the day, it's spring training. One guy that I will say that looked good at the plate, even though he struck out twice and walked, was Jet Williams. Like that's a guy a prospect that I'm excited about coming up, because you could see the fire in his eyes, his plate discipline. Even though he struck out, he worked himself out of a 2-0 count and came back up um, and made the pitcher work for a little bit on some close pitches. And for him to be disciplined that early, I think he's 20 years old. It's encouraging to see those young guys have that kind of steadiness at the plate. And so it was fun to see a lot of those guys get back out there, the prospects. Like I said last time, if you guys aren't watching baseball, you're just eager to watch baseball, this is your chance to watch the prospects come up too, because we're gonna get to see all the prospects play, and where we usually don't during the season, and get to see them kind of take some major league at bats, kind of against some major league pitchers. And so that I'm just I'm not gonna sit here and sulk in the loss that we had yesterday, or cheer about the win that we had today. But I I just feel like we just need to shake off some rust.
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Vientos is not going to be our third baseman. Get that out of your head, because that's not going to happen. They might not come out and flat out say it, but Vientos' only position is DH.
I agree with you. I hope that's the case, but when they're telling him that he's competing for third base, that puts that in his head. Like it takes a focus off of his bat and to try to put it in his glove. And it hurts the development of the bat to an extent. And so I wish they would just tell him, stick to first base or stick to DH. Just focus on your bat this year, so that he doesn't, get in his head about playing third base.
No, I'm not worried about that, because the only competition that was at third base, it was between Beatty and Mauricio. When Mauricio went down, it was Beatty's job to lose. And it's still Beatty's job to lose. Beatty's going to have that job unless he looks like he did last year. And that's the only way he's going to lose it. And if he looks the way he did last year, guess what? We ain't going anywhere, because we need the young guys to do something this year. We need the young guys to hit. Alvarez got a good start today for us, right? You were talking about Harris leading off. Well, we got Alvarez doing the same thing, right? Not lead off, but his second at bat. And so, I'm not. Vientos deep down probably knows he has no shot, especially after today. He better himself think about just focusing on the bat, right? After today, because that was a routine grounder that he muffed, right? That wasn't a hard grounder that he messed up. Yeah, that was routine. The ball was up, right here, and he completely messed it up. So Vientos, if I was him, I'd be like, look, let me hit the ball because if I hit the ball, they can't put me down, right? They signed Luke Voigt to a minor league contract, right? That was Viento's insurance. Luke Voigt is Viento's insurance. And is Luke Voigt gonna play anywhere? No. So if I was Vientos, I'd see the Luke Voigt signing and say, all I got to focus on is hitting. You know what I mean? Because that's my position. I'll get anywhere if I hit. Nelson Cruz did it. JD Martinez, Big Poppy, all they did, going back to Edgar Martinez, all they did was hit. They didn't have a position. All they did was hit. So if I was Vientos, that's all I focus on. I wouldn't be worried about third base, because if I hit, this is a different regime. Stearns wants to see us play, see the kids play. So he knows that he's going to get to play if he hits. So if I was Vientos, all I focus about is hitting. Honestly, if I was Beatty, that's all I focus on too, because that's what's going to keep him up here is the hitting. It's
Well,
nothing else. The defense will play out the way it's supposed to play out as long as they hit, right? Vientos isn't here for defense. Beatty's our third baseman, and Wendell's the safety net for Beatty if everything goes wrong, right? Or Luis Angel or Jet Williams is a safety net for Beatty if everything goes wrong, because at the end of the day we can move McNeil to third if Beatty's not working out. So we got guys to cover the bases if Beatty doesn't do his job. And Vientos, all we need him to do is hit. So, and as far as the fifth spot, because of Senga going down, you know, um, after 2 games, Budo's beating out McGill. Obviously we don't know the ins and out. We don't know if McGill was working on stuff yesterday and in essence was a live BP throwing out there, and so we don't actually know. We don't have the behind the scenes on what was going on. But as far as our eyes, as far as the fans' eyes, you know, Budo's right now has got the leg up.
yeah.
2 innings, 2 strong innings.
It's hard to tell with Miguel because, yes, he's working on stuff. He's bringing in a new pitch called the Spork, which is a splitter fork, which Senga helped him work on this offseason. And it looked like he was working on that yesterday when they played St. Louis, and and it wasn't like he was getting hit. But Miguel's problem has always been his control, and he's always been never been able to kind of um, not walk a batter in an inning, and that's what we saw yesterday. And when he's good, he's good. Or when he has control, he's good. Because we saw him pitch or help pitch a no hitter a couple of years ago. So we know he has the stuff, but he only lasted 5 innings there because he got up to 100 pitches really quick because he didn't have that control, and so that's going to be the factor. But when you think about when you think about it, McGill's going to play in the major leagues this year. There's no way he's going to be sent down to the minor leagues. It's just, is he going to be the starter or is he going to be the swing man? And like you said, right now, it seems like he's going to be the swing man because Budo is proving that he's going to he's going after that spot. And he looked good today, posting up zeros and in his start. But one guy that we haven't gotten to see yet, who I think might take the reins over both of those guys, is Joey Lucchesi, because we saw a couple of his starts in the major leagues last year, and we saw him able to pitch composed and to really do what other Mets pitchers couldn't last year. And so it'll be cool to see if this year he can do the same thing in spring training. I'm sure he'll get the next start, just because David Stearns is kind of trying all these guys out. We saw all those relief pitchers today, and yesterday, all all the guys that David Stearns had signed in the minor leagues, kind of getting their tryout sessions in, and some of them are working out, some of them aren't, and this is exactly what David Stearns wants. He wants to see who's working out, who's not, and what about most of these guys is that you can send them back down to the minor leagues if they don't. And the only guy that hasn't it doesn't have that option, that might be a key player, is not on the pitching side, but on playing at first base is Ji-Man Choi, and he didn't really do well today. So, but besides that, we know we're not worried about that. But it'll be interesting to see how this pitching race plays out for the rest of this spring training camp.
Yeah, and you're right about that. We didn't get to see Luke Casey yet, right? Only 2 games in, but with the guys that we did see, Budo's in. As far as the fans, right? As far as the outside can see, Budo's in the lead, and but I do agree with you that well, they all have options, so all of them can be sent down, all 3 of them. So it really does. There is no logjam in the sense that one of those guys has to stay up in the majors. But I do believe that the ones that don't make it are going to be sent down and not swing guys, because they're going to want to keep them stretched out, right? They want to keep them stretched out for anything else that happens, right? Because those are the guys that are coming up if something happens to a Severino or anybody else, right? So those are the guys. So I do think that, and my opinion is that the guy that doesn't make it will be stretched out and in the minors, in that AAA, and in Syracuse, to stay stretched out in case we do need him down the line. So I don't think the swing man. I think the swing man is going to be somebody else, but we'll see who that guy is. Um,
Yeah, probably like a Reed Foley type, because he's an older guy that doesn't have, he doesn't want to be sent down to the minor leagues again, because he is older and a diehard Mets fan, and he's going to be fighting for that major league spot, and so it'll be interesting to see him pitch this year, because he'll probably be fighting for that swingman spot. I don't see him being a starter like these other guys that we're talking about, but he can be a long reliever type. Come in when we need him to start. But we have a lot of options. That's something I am grateful for, from David Stearns doing this year, and he talked about it this year, or in the box with Howie, or not with Howie, with Ron and blank
and Gary,
and Jerry
Gary,
and Gary. I'm
you
gonna
all
take
right?
this off.
You
I'm
all
gonna
right?
take this off now. Anyway, um, Hall of Famers, I'm forgetting their names. Look at me. But anyway, he was just talking about how he this past year's focus was to create sustainable winning, and that you do that by creating depth, by not wearing your guys out, by not um, like overextending them to where they're trying to put out more than they can chew, and you see that one with the depth, but also too, I think with this Senga thing is, he said that he doesn't care how long he's going to be out. He just wants him to come back healthy, and so that's how you create sustainable winning, is by doing things like that, and that's how you gain trust in the eyes of the Mets fans as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we need to understand. Everybody was clamoring to get JD Martinez and Turner and all these guys, and what we need to understand is this is a pivot. We're not the Mets that are spending all this money just to spend money, right? We're going to spend money. We're just going to do it wisely now. I think we're going for it. We're going for championships, and it didn't work out. So now we're going to try to do what we had in plan the whole time, right? Since Cohen came on board, he's been saying he wanted to be Dodgers East, right? What does Dodgers East do? sustained winning, right? They win every year, right? And they don't do it by spending money every year, right? They hadn't signed a big free agent other than Freeman for a few years before Freeman. So they weren't spending money like crazy. They did have a high payroll. They re-signed some guys they traded for, like Betts and stuff like that. They got Muncy off, I don't think it was a trade, but he came from the Giants organization, and so it's one of those things that we're now going into the phase where we want to be winning every year, right? We saw the Yankees do it for a lot of years, right? We saw the Boston do it. We're seeing Houston do it now. Dodgers are doing it. So that's what we're thinking about. But as we transition, I will say Cody Bellinger signed today for $3 million, a 3-year, $80 million contract. And guess what? He was seeking a $200 million contract. So his contract was less than half of what he was seeking. My eyes are getting big because maybe Monty is still available for us. That is one guy I told you from the beginning that I wouldn't mind seeing them sign Monty. And if the price tag is coming down, and it might be, right? The Yankees are going after Snell, but at their price, right? And if Yankees are getting Snell at their price, that means Monty's not getting his price either. So I would have no qualms or issues, and I'd be all on board if Monty's price tag came down and we signed Monty because, he's a solid guy, and he'll be signed after next year. We don't have to worry about the whole rotation all over again. And he's a solid number two, right? Number two, number three, high three, low two. And again, we talked about this. Those guys get us to the playoffs, right? Those guys can, as in Monty's case, win World Series. So, I don't know. What do you think, man?
If the price tag is low enough, then I'll go for it. Uh, but at the end of the day, he's gonna want years. That's what the contract is gonna come down to. I don't think he's. I think he's at the point in his career where he knows that just like Blake Snell, that this is probably his last big contract if he does get something. And so I just don't know if the Mets are in the position to give him that contract. I think they're more inclined to give him more money on on a shorter term contract, and if he wants that, then come on over. But I still see Monty going over to the Red Sox because that's just where he. It just seems like that's like a perfect fit, and they need pitching. And they're I feel like more in a spot of desperation in terms of trying to win this year than the Mets are, and so I feel like they're probably going to give him more money than we would. But I think I also don't mind if we don't pick him up. And I brought this up a couple of episodes ago too, or whenever we talked about him, but he really doesn't bring anything to the Mets besides longevity and pitching or kind of innings, which is what the Mets do need. But also kind of like what you said, he's a middle end or second or a third starter in the rotation. And like we talked about before, we kind of have a couple of those guys that can take that spot. So, but at the end of the day, the Mets do need pitching. It doesn't change anything just because Senga went down and, Stearns and even said it himself. Like, it doesn't change anything. They're not going to go after anybody harder than they would have before he went down. But if it's like something that can actually mean something to us in terms of like, he's going to come and be our opening day starter and start and be able to give us the innings that we need to, but not on long term contract. or for too much money, then I'm all for it. But I'm not gonna be heartbroken if it doesn't happen.
No, and I'm not going to be heartbroken if it doesn't happen either. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, and I don't mind signing Monty for a few years, right? I don't. You're right. Monty's not looking for a short contract. But I wouldn't mind signing Monty for a 6 year contract, right? That doesn't bother me, only because he is a good pitcher. But again, like you said, at our price, at the Mets price. If it's not at the Mets price, then yeah, I'm not sweating it. I'm just saying that prices seem to be coming down on these guys that thought that they were going to get these buku bucks, and it looks like the prices are coming down. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying break the bank. I'm just saying if the price is where the Mets want it, open that door. Let's see what happens, and let's check it out because um, we still need pitching. You never have too much pitching, so them signing Monty isn't going to hurt the rotation. It's only going to make it better. And them signing Monty gives us a guy other than Senga to be signed after next year, after this year, because again, next year the only guy that we have signed is Senga and Manaya if he elects to do the option, which isn't likely because every year he has this type of contract, and every year he's opted out. I'm more saying it, because if he is coming back down to the Mets price range, um, trying to sign four parts of your rotation again next year, plus Pete, plus a potential Juan Soto. That's a lot of things to do in one off season. You know what I mean? And if we can eliminate one spot with Monty, if the price is right, again, if the price is right, if we can eliminate one spot, let's do it. What do you mean? Let's go.
Yeah, and I kind of want to retract my sentiment because I do want to see the Mets pick him up. That would solve a lot of problems, like you said. Senga is going to be the only pitcher on the books next year, but also um, there's a contingency to it as well because I don't want to see the Mets spend so much money this year. I kind of want to see them do kind of what the Dodgers did with Otani, and kind of push that money towards the end of his contract. So I wouldn't mind seeing him on a long-term contract, but if you do that, if you sign him for so much money this year, then you're paying double plus some for this year. So if you can push that money 30, I mean, sorry, if you can push that money 3 years down the line, so that you're paying it after all these other guys are off the books, then that makes it a lot more attractive to the Mets. And so it'd have to be it's all on Monty. The Mets can do it. They can do long term. They can do as much money as he wants. Well, not as much as he wants, but as much as we're willing as the top bidder is paying right now. But it'd have to be you push that money 3 years down the line, so you're not getting that luxury tax.
Yeah, no, and that's a valid point because that is a big factor. At the end of the day, we keep saying it's not my money, it's not my money, but every person has limits, right? And we see that Cohen is tired of spending like crazy, right? He's not, if we were winning, it might be a different story, but we're not winning, right? And you don't want to spend money just to spend money. Everybody who says, "Oh, it's not my money," yes, but he didn't get to where he got by just throwing money away. You know what I mean? So that is a big part. I forgot about the tax. And so, if they could work out a contract, it's just a guy that, I would love to see in a Met uniform. But again, it does have to make sense for the Mets. And so I do agree with you there. I can't argue with you there. But I do hope that if it does come down, that we're at least in the mix, right? If we're in the mix, at least I'll be like, well, we were in a mix. It just didn't fall to where we wanted it, right, or where the Mets wanted it. So, that's okay. I enough being that drum. I've been saying wanting Monty all off season, but I'm not going to continue beating that drum because you've heard it before. Um, but uh, but yeah, I think we'll cut it there. I think we got to all the things that we needed to say regarding the young guys and Senga injury and potential pitcher in the way. Because the Stern said he's not done. So or Lindor said that Stern's not done. So who knows what that means? But at the end of the day, maybe there's more moves coming, and or maybe we see the young guys before sooner rather than later. Who knows? But we're gonna cut it there. I'm glad baseball is back. I'm glad to be back talking to you guys, and um, as the year goes on, we're gonna probably switch it up a little bit. But let's get to the regular season before we switch up the format of the show. But before we get out of here, hey Victor, any last words?
No, man. I mean, yeah, like you said, I'm excited baseball is back and we get to watch some actual games. But I'm gonna be looking out for how these guys do. Not on, like you said, not on the if we win or not basis, but how do these guys look out there? How are they? How are their swings? How are they looking? What's their desire? Because there's a lot of competition to watch in this spring training, and it's going to be a fun ride while it lasts.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm here for it. I'm glad baseball is back. I missed it so much, and so I'm ready for it. So hey guys, remember, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know. What do you think of what we said? Do you agree? You disagree? Yeah, come on and let us know. But like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss a thing. And guys, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.